Hello, and welcome to the Assessment Alchemist, the podcast where we transform the daunting world of assessments into a journey of empowerment and achievement for educators and students alike. I'm Tina Wiles, your guide in this quest to conquer test anxiety and unlock the secrets of effective test preparation. So let's dive into today's topic and discover how we can turn educational challenges into opportunities for growth and success. Welcome to the Assessment Alchemist. Today, I am here all by my lonesome. I am so excited to share with you tips and tricks for online testing. Okay. And taking an online test can be a bit different than taking pencil and paper exams. So, I actually want to talk about three key things that are going to help you with those online exams. We're going to talk about tools, we're going to talk about how to read the questions, and then we're going to talk about answering the questions, right? So, three key things in getting your highest score possible on online exams. So, I'm just going to dive right into it. So, let's start talking about tools. So, tools, the software that we get to use for online exams typically comes with tools to help you, right? So, some of the tools are intended to help you focus. So, for example, there might be line readers where you can move it and actually like help you focus on the line. There might be tools that invert the coloring of the screen to make it easier for you to read. There might be tools for annotating where you get to highlight some of the text and then put your own notes. There's also in some software tools for being able to cross out answer choices on math tests. There are different calculators that they can give you access to. And on almost every digital exam I have ever seen, there is some kind of tool for marking questions to come back and take a look at. Now, this is on exams where you do have the capability to like hop around in the questions and like go back and forth. I know there are digital exams that do not allow that because they're adaptive scoring. So basically, the next question depends on how you do on like question one. If you get it right, you get one question for question two. If you get question one wrong, you get a different question for question two. Those types of adaptive scoring exams, you cannot go back. But the majority of online tests that we are taking these days do have that, or does have the ability to go back and be able to mark questions to take a look at. Okay. There is no shame in using the tools that you're given. And one way to make sure you do this, I know for some tests, it might cost. So, like SAT, ACT, it's hard to find a version of where there's more than just a couple questions to check for the ACT. For the SAT, for those high school students, there is the College Blue Book software that you can use. That's all free. ACT has not come out with a practice version of their software for online exams yet. Um, but when you're talking about professional exams where you go to like a Pearson testing site to take, typically you do have to pay for practice exams for those tests. I do highly recommend, if you can afford it, to take that practice exam and get used to the software. Simply because then you will able to see the exact software that you're using for the exam and what tools you have access to, right? It just the more familiar you are with the software before you go in to take the exam, that's one less thing that you have to think about when you're sitting there taking the exam. All right. So you know what tools you're using or how to use them. So now we're going to come to the second thing I wanted to talk about today, which is reading the questions. Okay, sounds super easy. When you're answering questions, a tool, and this is applies to pencil and paper exams too, but I have found that it is a huge help on these online exams, is I want you to start with reading the question. Even if there's like a long paragraph or a short paragraph before the question, I want you to start with reading the question. Okay. The online exams, you have the paragraphs are typically short enough that when you read the question first, it allows you to read with purpose when you're going through the text. Okay. So read with purpose. Why would that make a difference? Because when you know what the question is, you already know what you're looking for when you read through the paragraph. Okay. So you're going to start with reading the question, read the paragraph or whatever other information you need before you look at the answer choices. And this is key. Before you look at the answer choices, I want you to predict what the answer is. Almost like it's an open ended question. Pretend you don't have answer choices to choose from. Or on some online exams, I know you have free response questions and stuff. But when I'm talking about multiple choice, do not look at the answer choices until you've made a prediction. Okay. What can take so much time on any exam, but especially on digital exams, sometimes we get a false sense of how long it's taking to go through. It's You can get stuck on a question, not realize how long you're looking at it. If you predict before you look at the answer choices, then you're looking through the answer choices for what matches what you think instead of trying to let the answer choices persuade you into maybe changing what you think. Okay. So use what you think is the right answer when you predict and match that idea to the answer choices. Okay. Sounds easy enough. I know it's not, and I'll get to that in step 3. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Assessment Alchemist. This episode is proudly brought to you by my tutor, your trusted partner in conquering test anxiety and achieving exam excellence. Wondering if test anxiety is holding you back? Take a quick detour to testanxietyquiz.com. In less than 5 minutes, our quiz can reveal just how much test anxiety affects your performance. Don't let stress stand in the way of your success. Visit testanxiety.quiz.com today and take the first step towards transforming your test taking experience. My tutor, we're here to help you slay the test. Right, now that we got that quick commercial break out of the way, let's go and talk about the third key when it comes to doing well in those online exams. Okay, time to answer the question. All right, this is as I'm going to go through and talk about it. I'm going to talk about 3 feelings that you get when you go to answer a question and tie this into how you could use those tools to help you. So you read the question, right? You read the question, you read the paragraph, you make a prediction, right? You make a prediction, you read through the answer choices and you're like, "Ha, this is it. I know B is the answer." I would say you feel confident. You're like, "Yes, I know this one," right? When you have that yes feeling, confident, you're going to go ahead and answer it and move on. You're not going to come back and look at it again. You're not going to second guess. When you had that feeling and like the answer choice matched what your prediction is, answer it and leave it alone. Okay. The second thing that can happen is you can feel conflicted. So you read the question, right? We read the whole thing, you made your prediction, you go through the answer choices and you feel like there are like maybe 2 answer choices you could eliminate right away. Maybe you're stuck between 2. Okay. That's what I would call conflicted. You're stuck between 2 answer choices. What you're going to do is you are going to pick the answer that you think best matches your prediction, but then you're going to flag that question in the software. Okay. So it might say like mark question. It might actually be a flag in some software systems, but you're going to flag the question to come back and take a look at it. Okay. I'll get back to what to do when you're coming back to look at it in a minute. The third feeling that you have is maybe you don't even get to make a prediction. Maybe you read the question and you're like, I have absolutely no idea what this is talking about. Or maybe you make a prediction and you read through the answer choices and you're like, none of these are even close to what I think the answer is. I would say that means you're confused on the question, right? So if you get this feeling, I actually want you to leave the question blank. Okay. Do not put an answer down, but I want you to flag it. Okay. So flag it or check, or mark it to come back and take a look at. So if you follow this confident, conflicted, confused process when you're going through and answering questions, why I encourage this is it's going to prevent you from getting stuck on a question and not realizing how much time is going by. Okay. If you've read a question twice and you're still, I have no idea, or you are definitely confused, you need to mark it to look at it and you need to move on to the next question. All right. So now let's say you've gone through all of the questions on the exam. Okay. And there's typically a summary page that'll come up and show you, or maybe there's like a button you can push that you see the summary, but it'll show you which questions you've answered and which ones you flagged. Okay. You're going to go back and look at those questions. If you have answered it and you flagged the question, okay, that means that you were conflicted when you looked at it. You're going to reread the question and you are only, this is key, only change your answer if you were positive you were wrong with what you chose the first time. Okay. If you're like, I don't think this is right, leave it alone. Only change that answer if you're like, I am positive this is wrong. Okay. That's all you're going to do. You're just going to double check those and you are going to remember only change it if you know that you are wrong. When you get to the questions that you have not answered, but are still flagged, those were the ones that you were confused on. So now maybe after having a break, when you come back and look at it, maybe you're like, oh, now I know what the question's asking. So if you have that, like now, go ahead and answer it. Okay. If you still have no idea, right? You cannot eliminate anything. You're going to pick the same letter for those questions through the whole exam. A, B, B, B. Now, hopefully this is not many questions that you absolutely have no idea on. But if you pick the same letter, so say maybe it was 4 questions on the test, 4 multiple choice questions. If you pick the same letter, like A, for those 4 multiple choice questions, if there are 4 answer choices, A, B, C, and D, statistically, you would get one of those questions correct simply by guessing A for all of them. Or maybe you guess B for all of them. Honestly, the letter that you're choosing doesn't really matter. It's just that you're choosing the same one for all 4 of them. Okay. This is because statistically, every answer choice has a 25% chance of being correct. And so statistically, if you choose the same answer for 4 questions, you should get one of them correct. Okay. Again, this is only if you cannot eliminate any answer choices, or you're like, I'm so lost, I have no idea what this question is asking. Okay. So I know I went through a ton of information on today's episode. I try to do things very to the point and very succinct to give you some strategies where you don't have to listen to a bunch of talk, right? Just get right to the point. So make sure you remember that we talked about the tools, right? Just to summarize, we talked about tools and making sure you're familiar with the software. We talked about reading the questions and predicting before you look at the answer choices. And then we talked about answering the questions and how you can feel confident, conflicted, or confused. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Assessment Alchemist, and I will see you next week.